Good morning, everybody. It's Mother's Day. It's May the 10th, 2020. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. I sometimes call it pandamdemic, and it's tough out there. I hope everybody is staying safe, staying in touch with their loved ones, and making this time as meaningful as it possibly can be. Today, it might be fixing to rain, but I'm under a canopy. You might hear some billowing because of that, but we'll soldier on. What I want to talk about today is the logical conclusion of what I had been talking about in the first, I don't know, three or four, however many it's been, recordings that I've made while we cannot practice together during that time when we're all using all different kinds of video stuff. Um, this is the video stuff that works best for me. I'm not a Zoomer. I understand other people are not Zoomers either. So here it is. The first times we were talking about, in part, not entirely, but in part, what meditation is not. Not a breathing exercise, not a relaxation exercise, not a quick fix for anything. Um, see, not a road to instant bliss. Those are kind of some of the main things that people often come into meditation classes or meditation centers with the hopes um, that they're going to get these things. And those are ideas that are all very much promoted in pop culture, and that's a shame because people who pick up these ideas, very attractive, friendly ideas, they have a hard time letting them go. They become expectations, and when they're expectations, then any failure to achieve those expectations um, turns out to be a reason just to turn away. But so what I want to do is turn the page to what meditation is and what are the reasons to why anybody would want to practice meditation given that you're not getting instant bliss and so forth and so on. So I made a little list back in the days when I could make handouts and didn't do videos. I made a list and I called the list Scientifically Plausible, Potentially Testable Hypotheses, Ray, the Benefits of Meditation Mindfulness Practice. You can see my background is in science, among other things, science and academia, so it sounds kind of stilted maybe, but here's the list. I'll run through the whole list first and then talk about it. The whole list that I made is, first of all, improved mood and diminished anxiety due to spending less time in autopilot, also known as default mode. 2. Increased capacity to tolerate distress. 3. Better impulse control and diminished reactivity. 4. Increased clear awareness and understanding of our thoughts and emotions and more effective emotion regulation. 5. A better sense of being deeply connected to the fabric or texture of our lives in this world. And this largely consists of a significant shift in the direction of increased awareness and connection with the sensory world, and less time spent thinking about the past and the future, or less time. Sometimes we're not even thinking about it, we're really dwelling in the past and the future. That's one of the key elements of or features of default mode or autopilot. Next, increased openness to experience. Now that's a personality characteristic that is a good thing to have. We don't want to be a person who is closed off to new things, because some of the new things that we encounter in life are good. So increased openness to experience, and that's correlated with diminished closed-mindedness. And we get that in meditation because we deliberately choose to be open to and relatively comfortable with everything that arises. during the period of time when we're sitting meditation. Even the unpleasant stuff, we're open to it. Next, better moment-to-moment understanding of cause and effect as it operates in our own lives. Now, that happens because awareness happens. And when awareness happens, we start to notice the patterns in our lives. We start to notice, I do this, that happens. I do this, that happens. I do this again, it happens again. When those causal connections are not buried in some unawareness area of our attention and of our memory, then we are much more easily led into following the same old cause and effect patterns or habits or impulses into places where we end up not wanting to be. Awareness helps us see that pattern, and only when we see that pattern can we begin to stop it. Finally, and this is the culmination of all the things that I just read, finally, greater wisdom and joy. So let's go through a little of these in a little bit more detail, starting with probably the chief concept that's involved in most of these, and that's this concept of default mode functioning, also known as autopilot. There's quite a bit of research on this now. This is a very valid neurological, neuropsychological concept that applies to the way the human brain naturally operates. And here's the thing. The human brain is designed, if you think about it, it's pretty obvious that the human brain is designed or evolved to protect us. And one way that it protects us is flagging dangerous situations in our lives. It scans the environment, outer environment and inner environment, when you get right down to it, for anything that's scary, that might damage us, that might hurt us, and it presents a biased view of the world to our conscious mind because it is so negatively oriented, both future and past. So what we'll get in the default mode or autopilot is a brain that is dwelling far more than on anything positive, everything negative or scary. So there's this negative bias in our cognitive life, whether it's operating in our awareness or not. And thus, a negative bias is introduced into our emotional lives. Okay, secondly, the human brain has evolved to be efficient. It does a ton of work. The energy that goes into our brain activity on a moment-to-moment basis is much greater than the energy that's required to operate our body outside of the brain. It takes an enormous amount of energy. So what it does, like a lot of other machines that we run in our lives, it turns itself not all the way off, but it shuts down unnecessary operations, or operations that in its experience are deemed unnecessary. So we spend a lot of time in autopilot. We're not paying real full attention to the world when there's nothing in the way of, say, a snake or a tiger lurking over there in the next door neighbor's yard. We don't have to worry about what's going on over in that direction of the yard, right? Because the brain has already scanned that outside of our awareness and told us there's nothing there to worry about. So when everything is copacetic as far as the brain is concerned in terms of immediate danger, sometimes what it'll do is it'll stay pretty active, but it will review past dangers. And that's where we get this pattern that all of us know of going over stuff that's happened in the past that went wrong, right? All the places where we made mistakes, all the arguments that we've had with people that we didn't do a great job of winning, right? So we'll go over and over and over. What should I have done? Everybody who's listening to this has gone through this. What you've done is you've relived the whole thing, and you've inserted better responses. You've redone everything that you've ever done that seems to have been wrong over and over and over again. So that's another negativity um, activity that your brain runs that's usually outside of awareness, right? And so these operations are going all the time. The scanning the environment and trying to protect us, and scanning the past for mistakes in order to make our performance better in the future. And then sometimes scanning the future, hoping to achieve something that we want, also outside of awareness. Oh, look at that, I like that. And moving in that direction without even realizing that we're doing that. What meditation does is allows us to notice when that's happening, because we're sitting quietly, usually with eyes shut or fixed on one location, kind of in front of us, and not watching anything. And we watch. What we do watch is not the outside world. What we do watch is what's going on in our minds. This is an activity that humans very rarely do. And it's only when you start meditation do you realize that that's a difficult activity. We are not used to doing it. It's not to the human brain an obviously life-saving kind of activity. But that's what we do in meditation, and we sit and we watch. And we watch as thoughts pop up into our mind, as memories pop up into our mind, as fantasies pop up into our mind, impulses arise, habit energy is generated, exaggeration goes on. When we have a small itch that we're sitting still with and deciding not to scratch, it becomes enormous. So we can see our thoughts. We can see the way our thoughts get distorted. We can see what's really, really going on in the moments when we are in the absence of observing our minds, and that's most of our lives. Most of our lives are in autopilot, and we allow our minds to drift hither and yon from this, that, the other thing, trains of thought that proliferate into other trains of thought. And usually you really know that you're in autopilot when, if you wake up just a little bit, you notice that the world around you is hazy. It's hazy in the sense that when you're driving a car and you're going really, really fast, the world around you outside of the car windows is kind of hazy. Your mind is taking the job of looking for dangers, cars that are behaving erratically, barriers, stuff in the road. But what's going on outside of those obviously necessary to attend to dangers is fuzzy. When the world is fuzzy around us, we are not really living in the world. We're slumbering through our lives. So if that's not okay with you, if you would rather not slumber through your life, if you would rather really feel the texture of your life and be alive and awake as long as you are alive, then one way to pursue that is to practice meditation. You're going to learn to sit still in awareness. You're going to learn to cut through the fuzziness that usually surrounds everything that's in the world with us, including our own bodies, including what's going on in our heads, including what's going on with our loved ones, including what's going on in the world. And that is just a little glimpse of enlightenment, because what we're doing is we're shining a light, the light of awareness, on our reality. And we do that to be alive while we're alive. So I recommend that you give it a try. You're probably not going to see some kind of instant results and bliss and all of that. But if you work at this practice of awareness, sitting still with everything, observing what's going on with an attitude of kindness, curiosity, and patience, then you might find some differences going on in the quality of your life. So I'm going to finish this talk up with you with a Mary Oliver poem. She exemplifies everything that I'm talking about here in her capacity and love of being aware in the midst of the natural world and her own life. The name of this one is Peonies. A lot of people have never seen peonies if you haven't lived up. I think most of them are kind of in the Midwest. But they're great big flowers, and they are really just like over the top in terms of being beautiful and gaudy. So the name of the poem is Peonies. This morning, the green fists of the peonies are getting ready to break my heart. As the sun rises, as the sun strokes them with his old, buttery fingers, and they open pools of lace, white and pink, and all day the black ants climb over them, boring their deep and mysterious holes into the curls, craving the sweet sap, taking it away to their dark underground cities, and all day under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding. The flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrance to the air and rise, their red stems holding all that dampness and recklessness gladly and lightly. And there it is again, the beauty, the brave, the exemplary, blazing open. Do you love this world? Do you cherish your humble and silky life? Do you adore the green grass with its terror beneath? Do you also hurry, half-dressed and barefoot, into the garden and softly, and exclaiming of their dearness, fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment, before they are nothing forever? That's Mary Oliver. If you haven't read much of her poetry, I recommend it highly. I hope y'all have a good day. Happy Mother's Day. Please be safe. Please stay connected. Please be mindful.